Yes, you are reading that title correctly. Manchester City are in crisis. And just a week after Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, Manchester City went on to lose their last 3 games in all competitions. But it's not just the fact that they lost these 3 games, it's the fact that they conceded 8 goals in these 3 losses. And it's not just poor performances that the citizens are suffering from, with them losing key player after key player due to injury. But what is the cause of these poor performances? Is it the as aforementioned injuries? Is it the lack of individual brilliance? Is it the typical Manchester City winter slump? Or is Manchester City's and Pep Guardiola's dominance over the Premier League finally coming to an end? Well, in today's video, we'll be discussing this crisis that Manchester City find themselves in, and we're going to figure out whether it's just a blip of their season and they'll still go on to have a successful season, or whether their dominance over the league, over English football, is finally coming to an end. So stay tuned and stick out to the end of the video to find out whether Manchester City really are in crisis. So we'll first start off with the recent performances, and like I said, we've lost our last 3 games in all competitions, right? And that started with a Carabao Cup exit to Spurs, where we went to Spurs' stadium. We didn't have the best squad out, but I'm not using that as an excuse because we still had senior players out on that pitch. Foden was non-existent in the false 9 role. I don't know why we went back to playing that false 9 role. It's not 2020. It's not 2021 anymore. We can't do that. It is not viable. Our midfield was non-existent. We were getting overran by Spurs' midfield. Obviously, we get hit on a counter. Werner scores. And then we concede a lovely outside of the box finish from Sarr. We're 2-0 down. When you're 2-0 down, you've got a lot of work to do. And yes, we were able to claw one back through Nunes. And that was from a combination of Savio finding Nunes with the cross. And I thought they were our only 2 decent players in that game. Everybody else looked so off of it. And no one really looked up to winning that game other than Nunes and Savio. And obviously Savio ended up going off injured, right? So that's the first game. And I'm like, okay, hopefully we can bounce back in the Premier League. Obviously, still being unbeaten in the Premier League. We go away to Bournemouth. And we find ourselves 1-0 down early on, due to some poor defending by Foden and some poor defending in the box by Vardiol, right? Okay, cool. There's still time for us to get ourselves back into this game, right? We just can't go 2-0 down like we did against Spurs and give ourselves too much to do with not that much time, right? What do? We concede one of the softest goals I've ever seen to Evan Nilsson, right? Ederson needs to be saving that. It's such a poor goal to concede. It's absolutely disgraceful. So again, we find ourselves 2-0 down, getting absolutely battered, played off the park, and we've got a lot to do in not that much time. Guardiola able to guide a beautiful header into the top corner past Travers, and it's 2-1. Game on. We can still rescue a point from this. But Haaland goes on to miss a tap-in, really. Haaland goes on to miss a very easy chance right in front of the goal. And then Foden drags a shot wide from the edge of the box in the closing seconds of the game. But that Foden shot, right? That Foden shot is very, very important, because end of last season, the form that Foden was in, like the start of 2024 up until the Euros, that shot finds the back of the net every single time. So it just shows the confidence some of our players are playing with and the form that some of them are playing with. Things just aren't going their way in some regards, but that's not an excuse. We've now lost 2 on a bounce, right? And now we have to come to play Sporting Lisbon away in the Champions League, who are managed by Manchester United, even's new manager, right? So we go there, and for once we find the early lead. Foden scores, right? Foden looks to make amends due to after the poor performances against Bournemouth and Spurs. He scores, he finds the back of the net. City start to take some control. We start creating chances. We start having chances. But once again, we're wasteful in front of goal. And this isn't the last season or the season before where we got away with being wasteful in front of goal. Now teams are punishing us when we waste these chances. Because bam, on the stroke of half-time, Sporting score. It's 1-1. Bam. Literally, straight after the restart, what does Sporting do again? Oh, they go and score. It's 2-1 now. So we're now losing. So what's the best thing to do when you're losing a game? Go and give away a penalty. Another poor defensive performance. We go and give away a penalty. Sporting make it 3-1. You know, so now again we're 2 goals behind. We have a lot to do, but no one steps up to the plate. Nobody steps up to the plate. Yes, we then win a penalty. Haaland smashes it against the crossbar. Even the great Erling Haaland is not exempt from criticism in this poor form, because he is also playing some horrific football at the moment, and I think that's due to fitness. I don't think he's fully fit. But obviously, with there being no backup to him, he has to play no matter what. So Haaland misses a penalty. And then Sporting, we haven't learned our lesson, because we go and give Sporting another penalty, and bam, it is 4-1. So we lose 2-1 to get knocked out of the Carabao Cup. We then lose our unbeaten start to the Premier League by losing 2-1 to Bournemouth. And we're like, okay, we might need to get back on track here. We've got a Champions League game coming up. Let's get the form up. No, we go out and get embarrassed in the Champions League 4-1. Like, there's no defensive quality. Our defense is awful. Nobody seems to play with any concentration. All it is lapsing concentration after lapsing concentration after lapsing concentration at the back. There's no individual brilliance. This isn't one of those where we're getting dragged through a rough patch by Haaland, De Bruyne, Rodri or Foden, because 2 of them are injured and 2 of them aren't performing well, right? No one's escaping any criticism here. The only 3 players that I think, as of recent, are not including the start of the season where Haaland was absolutely on fire. I'm talking about in the recent few matches, the only players that get any praise from me are Matheus Nunes, Josko Guardiola, and John Stones. Are the only ones that get any praise from me, because they were dragging us through a very, very rough time. And our unbeaten start would have ended long ago if it wasn't for Guardiola and Stones. So they deserve a lot of praise. And Nunes, even in this period where we've been losing games, Nunes has looked a bright spark. So it's embarrassing performances across the board. And this isn't just like the usual winter slump that Manchester City find themselves in, because I don't think it's ever this bad. A lot of the times we are unlucky. In some of those runs, we're unlucky. And yes, there are a few lapses in concentration. There are a few games that don't go our way. Obviously, I will always go back to the Carabao Cup game against Southampton in the treble winning season. That was one of the worst footballing displays I've seen from Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. But the slump we find ourselves in this season, I think, is more than a slump, because the performances are disgusting. The performances are absolutely disgusting. And that's not even just from the team. Some of the individual performances I'm seeing are absolutely disgusting. Haaland keeps missing key chance after key chance, and he can't keep doing that. He can't keep hiding behind his 11 Premier League goals already in the season, because people are starting to catch him, and we're starting to fall further behind Liverpool, right? Bernardo's been non-existent this season. Bernardo realised last season that, I want to stay at Manchester City because no one wants to cough up the 50 million to sign me. And then goes on to back that 50 million price tag up by being being non-existent. I saw a tweet on Twitter. I can't remember who said it, right? If I can find the tweet again, I'll put it up on screen. And the guy said, I've watched every Manchester City game this season, and I could not tell you how Bernardo Silva's played because I have not noticed him in any of the games. And that's exactly how I feel. Bernardo Silva has been, non-existent. Gundogan has been lackluster. Everyone was excited for the return of Gundogan, myself included, and he has just been nothing short of embarrassing. And he does look past it, right? That performance against Newcastle was awful, and I'm not seeing much improvement in his game. But, he is old. He is reaching the latter end of his career. I can cut him some slack a little bit, right? Kyle Walker is Kyle Walker. I don't think I even need to talk about Kyle Walker. Everybody knows how I feel about Kyle Walker. He's embarrassing. He is the epitome of a lapsing concentration defensively, right? Foden is still in his Euro 2024 form, right? We all saw how he performed at the Euros, and that's how he's performing now. That's as simple as it. Again, like I said, the only standouts have been Guardiola and Nunes. So, we've got an aging squad. We've got players like Bernardo and Gundogan that are clearly washed. De Bruyne, unfortunately, can't stay fit and is aging. Rodri's out for the season. Foden is in awful form. Haaland is probably injured and also in awful form. We're relying on a left back and a centre back to get our goals, and we expect to win the league. It is embarrassing, and we don't have the individual talent to bail us out anymore, because De Bruyne's aging and injury prone. Rodri's injured. Gundogan's not captain of the treble winning team Gundogan anymore, and Bernardo Silva's a shell of his former self. Pep needs to move on from these players that have shown us a lot of success. It's like when Klopp was coming to the end of his time at Liverpool and he was still playing Milner, he was still playing Henderson just because they were loyal servants to him. That is what Pep's doing with Gundogan, and that's what Pep's doing with Bernardo Silva, and it's at the detriment of the squad and the team's performances. But it's not just the performances from the players on the pitch, and it's not just Pep Guardiola continually putting faith in these players that aren't performing. It's from the board as well, because it was poor business in the summer, right? We sell Alvarez, our backup striker, for good money, right? That's a very good sale. But we don't have anyone as backup for Haaland. Now that Haaland's in bad form and he's suspected to have picked up a knock, he's got to play every game because we don't have another striker. We saw last season how awful we were without Rodri, and we've seen how unsustainable the amount of football Rodri's been playing is. So we don't sign a backup six. What happens? The inevitable happens. Rodri gets injured because of how much football he's played, right? And look at our midfield. It's a disgrace. Our midfield's a retirement home. We've got Bernardo, Gundo, and Kovacic all playing together, right? I don't know if any of them know how to pass the ball forward, how to play a progressive pass. They play football like it's rugby, side to side, backwards. We don't progress with those three in the midfield, right? I've said that how it is. We've got no natural wing backs. We've got Vardiol, centre back. Again, his performances have been good. I can't knock Vardiol. We've got Ake, centre back. Again, he's very solid defensively. I can't knock Ake, but they're not natural wing backs. We've got Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis isn't a wing back. Rico Lewis is a midfielder. I don't care what anyone says. Rico Lewis is a midfielder. Rico Lewis is a midfielder. He's not a wing back. And Kyle Walker is not a footballer. Kyle Walker's a 100-metre sprinter. He's not a footballer. So we've got no natural wing backs. We've got no backup to Rodri, who's now injured. And we have no striking backup to Haaland, who looks to be injured. And if not injured, he's out of form. So what's the alternatives? Phil Foden as a false nine. Guess what? Phil Foden's out of form. What do we do? Because we're out of ideas and we're out of players to use. Who's going to rescue us? And you can't say De Bruyne, because De Bruyne can't do it anymore. And I'm not saying he's washed, ability-wise, but fitness-wise and, stamina-wise, he can't do the full 90s for 38 matches in the Premier League anymore. He can't do it. His minutes will have to be managed, because he can't play every minute of every single game. So who's bailing us out? Because I don't know. Does Pep know? Potentially. I don't know. So, I do really hope to be proven wrong. And I do hope that we can go on to win some silverware this season. But at the moment, with the state of the squad, I don't think it's possible. I think some players in the squad have come to the end of their Manchester City career, and they need to move on before they tarnish their legacy at the club. Because you look at Bernardo and you look at Gundogan, you look at the things that they have contributed to the club, and look at some of the good memories they've given us. You don't want them tarnished by some of the poor performances that they're going to go out on. You look at Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's tarnishing his legacy as a Manchester City player because he's played for 2-3 seasons too long at City, and it's become embarrassing. So, please, City fans, let me know down below if you think this is just the regular, the typical Manchester City winter slump, or if you think we are washed for real this time. Rival fans, let me know how you feel about this slump that City are in. If you think we're going to bounce back and inevitably win the Premier League and have it be boring, or if you guys are happy to potentially see Liverpool win the title again, because that looks to be the way it is. Arsenal fans, I can definitely assume that you guys are fuming with us going through this awful form and Arteta doing his best Pep Guardiola impression and also going through a disgraceful run of form, because this was your time to capitalise, but you lot are basically doing the exact same thing. So I actually do sympathise with you. Like, I wish I could sit here and laugh at your form, but it would be hypocritical because my club is doing it 10 times worse. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please do like the video. Obviously comment your thoughts down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, especially if you watch a lot of my videos and they keep coming up in your recommended. It really does help the channel out. And if there's a third video on one you're watching, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel. With all that being said, I've been Nathan. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces. Chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like GTA trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it. Body come mad, come shake it. Shit then, get back to the basics. Bro, don't shut down cases. They belly dots to the